All right, I'd like to call the East China Township Board, November 7th, to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Boda.
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Here.
Mr. Horn. Mr. Knotts.
Here.
Mr. Blackstock.
Here.
Graham here. Mr. Simons.
Here. I guess we can forego the Pledge of Allegiance, we just did it. Next is the approval of the agenda. Is there anybody that'd like to add or delete anything from the agenda? I'd like to add something to the agenda. Being as though we have Mr. Newmer here tonight, I was contacted by, I think I reported to you at the last meeting that I was going to be meeting with China Township about the sewer line. I'd like to just add that we would have a discussion about the sewer line in China as a new business item 6. We're not going to do any action, just a discussion. So if that's okay with the board, I know I don't like to add things, but
I'll support that.
okay. So we'll add that to the agenda. We've got a motion to add that to the agenda. Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we add that to the agenda. Moving on to the approval of the minutes of October 17th, 2016.
If there are no additions, deletions, or corrections, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of October 17th, 2016.
It's been moved and supported that we accept the minutes as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to talk about anything that's not on the agenda?
My name's Cindy Bodan. I'm the chair of the Park Commission. What I would like to talk about is we've had 2 occasions in the last month that we had the fire department called to the park. There were passers-by apparently that called 911 saying there was a fire. One call was on September 21st at 10:45 in the morning, and the second call was on October the 8th at 8 o'clock at night. Both times, the fire was in a cement fire pit that's outside of the dog park. It's been there for years and years. And apparently people saw smoke the first time and there was no one around. So they called 911, the fire department. Once they're called out, they have to respond to it. They did not put it out either time because it's inside of a contained fire pit. I talked to the fire chief about it because we're getting charged every time the fire department comes. The second time, there were a group of kids, and they were playing music. The sheriff was called. They were playing music, and they had a little fire going, and the sheriff called the fire department because he wasn't aware that they could burn in that pit. We don't want to take that out. It's used during the winter at Sledding Hill and different, times that it's used, but the fire chief thought maybe the solution was to post some contact numbers. Usually if you're going to burn, if you call the fire department, then they know what's going on and they don't respond to it. So we could put a sign that says, that you either have to call the township, which I don't think that's going to really work. You really need to call the fire department and advise them that you're going to start a fire. Now, I don't know if there's kids that would do that, but to be responsible, that's what they would need to do so that the fire department's not getting called out. Chief Slangster thought that we should leave it as, those are the only 2 calls we've had all the time that he talked to the former fire chief in Marine City, said they've never been called there. So his feeling was to leave it and see how things go and maybe post some contact numbers. I don't know how the board feels. I'll take it to my board Wednesday night too, but does anybody have any?
I think that's the way we should go. A couple of signs are going to be cheap. We have another burning pit in the main park over by the pavilion.
And that one, when the pavilions are rented, they use that fire pit. It's kind of, I don't know if I don't think we need a sign over there for somebody to call and say they're burning.
Yeah.
Cindy, when any homeowner wants to open burn, he's supposed to contact the fire
Correct.
department. And I have never had a problem with it, as long as I contacted them,
Right.
they're all set.
When they do the burn pile over in the park, they contact the fire department, tell them that they're gonna burn. I think nobody thought about it. I know that the park manager and her staff, if they're cleaning up the dog park with sticks and stuff, they throw everything in there. She said they're always gone, they're always burnt up, so she knew they were burning in it, but we just had never had the fire department called.
I think along with that sign, if you just put a few rules on there too, I mean, put the fire out before you leave, before you burn, call the number, and list like 4 or 5 rules for them that they have to follow
Yeah,
to use it. I mean, I would hate to take it away.
I would hate to take it away.
And I see that one of the calls was at 7:59. Time does our park close?
It's outside of where we're closed, though. See, it's between the dog park fence and the dog park parking
Even on
lot.
that sign, we'd have something, no open burning after 8 PM, or no open burning after 9 PM. I mean, so they don't use it. Or put no open burning after our park closes. I mean, some way to monitor it a little
Right,
bit.
I guess we
Well,
could
where
do
that's
that.
located, Angela, it's where the sledding hill, and a lot of times the kids go out there and they're there till 10 o'clock
Yeah.
at night sledding,
Oh, okay.
you know.
I think if they just call and say, whoever's gonna start the fire to begin with, but then you had the issue, those people go home and somebody else, shows up, they're not gonna know they're supposed to put the fire out. But the fire department didn't put the fire out anyway. It's, as long
Yeah,
as
if
they
it's
know.
inside the,
Contained.
if it's inside
Right.
the cement ring, I think
Yeah.
you're,
I mean, the big issue here is the money. It's costing us $250 to have those guys come out. That's one part of it. The other part is it's 2 more runs to our township, which, as Mr. Boda knows, it's our percentage in the fire authority that
Right.
goes up. So it costs us more, the township, when we make our payment to the fire authority, it costs us more for the more runs we got. So I think if we can just curtail, having, if they would, let's just try and post some numbers there, like Angela said, some rules,
Yeah.
and
So
see if it works. I mean,
I wanted to bring it to you because I'm sure it's on your fire reports, and then I talked to Chief Slangster because I wanted to know when it was and what time of day, and, who called it in. I don't know if they had to give their name or not, but, apparently it was 2 different people, it sounds like, so. None of us really want to take that out, I don't think, it's a big cement burn pit and it's used a lot.
Well, it's a good
I
thing
think
to
in the
have.
winter.
I
I
mean,
think
you don't
it's
want to
great.
take it. That's a good thing to have there.
I'm actually glad that somebody saw a fire and called, They didn't stop to see it was in a fire pit, but at least they took the time to dial and,
Yeah.
Expensive call.
Well, they probably could have put it out. I saw the log, and they probably could have put it out with a bottle of water, but the log was like little.
What is in the area of the fire pit that is likely to
Nothing.
burn that would cause the fire department to come?
Well, they have to come. Once 911 dispatches them, they have to come see what it is. I asked him about that, and he said, once they're dispatched, they have to come. But there's
they
nothing.
don't say fire in a fire pit. It could be
Yeah.
a car, it could be the woods
Yeah.
on fire, it could be a lot of things.
Somebody saw smoke. There's nothing.
We wouldn't have
that's-
trouble smelling smoke in my neighborhood this evening.
It's
You
all
know,
over. I was down by Algonac, and it's that way down there too.
And, generally, there's people in the dog park, like 10:45 in the morning, there's generally people around, but apparently there wasn't anybody there at the time that particular day. And the kids that were there apparently were being very good and not bothering anything, they just had a little fire going. So, and the sheriff wasn't aware that we allow people to burn there, so. I just wanted you to know what it was and when it was, and we'll talk about it at the park meeting Wednesday night too, but,
Okay.
okay?
thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Cindy.
Thanks, Cindy. Good report.
Anybody else comment? Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda. We have the C1, September 2016 St. Clair Fire Report. We have C2, the October 2016 Building Department Report. We have C3, the October 6th, 2016 Beautification Committee Minutes. And we have the C4 is the October 2016 Marine City Fire Report.
I'll make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
It's been moved and supported that we accept the consent agenda as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we have disbursements. We have invoices of $39,174,039. We have accounts payable of $129,402.79. We have a payroll of $23,571.30. We have payroll direct deposit of $20,572.26. We have an EFT payment of $346.49. We have a tax account of $14,504.89 for a total disbursement of $263,572.12.
I'll make a motion, we pay the bills in the amount of $263,572.12.
I'll support.
It's been moved and supported that we pay the bills $263,572.12. Is there any further discussion?
I have an item. Page 5 out of 15, very last item. Maybe I was absent or asleep, but I don't remember approving such a large payment for a repair. And then my second question would be, since this looks like it's one of those club cadets, was it reviewed to see if we should be repairing it or buying a new one?
I
Page-
looked at buying a new one too, I'll tell you that.
5-5/15, it's $1,500 repair.
Yeah, I see it. Darling, that's where they take it. Really, that goes into the park. That's their maintenance. They own that machine.
Well, that's a park machine then?
Correct.
Okay, well, I just assumed it was DBW. If the park wants to pay for it, I guess they can,
Yeah,
but,
that's coming out of their line item.
all right. I have nothing else.
Okay, thank you. No further discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Blackstock.
Yes.
Mr. Knotts.
Yes.
Mr. Horn.
Yeah.
Mr. Petsalas.
Yes.
Mr. Boda.
Yes.
Cram, yes. Mr. Simons.
Yes. Motion carries. We paid the bills. Moving on to new business, we have an asphalt proposal for the bike path between Marine City and Springborn Road. We sent out about 5 or 6 contractors. We got 2 back. The one is Jellish, and I think the other one is Hess.
Yeah, Hess asphalt.
What's that?
Hess,
Yeah.
Hess asphalt.
Before me, I'll get him.
I noticed Jel's was a low bid here, Larry. Have we had him before? I think we have.
What we did last year, Don, is we started at the Marine City limits, where the bike path starts, and we came back north about 2,000 and some feet. And they did a great job.
Good.
And what I've been doing is every year, and Jack did it before me, and this board passed it before that, was we've been doing $25,000 worth of bike path work every year. Otherwise, the bike path is going to be so
That's right.
deteriorated that we won't have anything. And we usually wait right till the end to do it, because if we have some other expenses on the bike path, we take that money out of there.
Okay.
You know, actually, that bike path, the township owns the bike path all the way to DeGursey Avenue in Marine City. When we bought the old railroad right-of-way, when John Krillick did that way back.
Oh,
when.
really? No, I didn't know that.
The part that goes from the cinemas down to DeGursey is owned by the township.
Yep, that's all owned by the township.
Where do I find this out?
Pardon?
There must be some documents.
Must be
That'll be
in the
something
office,
in the
but-
township.
I thought it was the ditch there.
They
No.
vacated the railroad and he picked it up all the way down to the.
Down to DeGursey.
Oh, I'll see if I can find some documentation.
Yeah.
So then that's ours to maintain, because I've been stopping the cutting and the mowing and everything.
No, that's all ours, all the way to
All the
DeGursey,
way to DeGursey.
all the way to City.
Good time to find this out.
Is it being cut by someone else right now?
I don't know.
We don't see anything, Marine City.
I don't think they're maintaining it real well.
If it's
But,
mowed and looks good,
That
We like
Joust has
it.
done pretty good work.
Right, and you know, we budgeted for this, it was in the 16 budget, so, they want to get it done before the 15th. Around the 15th is when the asphalt plants start closing. So I put it on the agenda for this one.
I'll
Any
make a
reason why-
motion that we, allow, Jelsh Paving to do our asphalt for the bike path between Marine City and Springborn at a cost of $24,120.
And I'll support that.
Is there any reason we shouldn't accept the lowest bid on this one?
No,
Anybody know anything?
no.
Okay,
and they did it last, right?
They did our last, they've done it 2 or 3 times for us, Joe.
okay.
They've done a good job every time they've done it.
And you know, that bike trail is on that railroad bed, and it's, you know, it's all the big rock, and I don't think it's real, it doesn't compact and it moves around, and so I don't think we're ever gonna get away from not having cracks on it.
Well, and then they had at first, they had a lot of problems with trees growing up through it, and they finally,
Well, we got her cut back now, right? No
Yeah.
they
trees growing
eliminated a
through it.
lot of them.
Right,
Keep the pickup trucks off of it.
yeah, well, the pickup and the tree trimmers. Okay, so we have a motion to, accept Jelsh offer of
24,120.
24,120
Not to
And-
exceed.
in a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Patsalis?
Yes.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Knotts?
Yes,
Mr. Blackstock?
Yes.
Mr. Boda?
Yes,
Cram, yes. Mr. Simons?
Yes, motion carries. Next, we have the 2016 tax rate request. I think that's supposed to be the 2017, now that I look at it. Oh, it is 2016. I think that's supposed to say 2017, isn't it?
This county road, county board of commissioners.
yeah, they've got 2016
I-
up here.
I think I've seen this before. Isn't this the one where it says it's the 2016 rate to be applied
To 17.
to 17?
17.
It's
Okay.
just the way they write it
All right,
in legalese.
Yeah, because they sent it.
yeah, this is ours, the 3775, so. I guess we need a motion to authorize that. That's our budget.
I'll make a motion that we authorize the clerk and the supervisor to sign our tax rate, 2016 tax rate request. It's 3.7775 mils operating, .7432 water debt. Support.
It's been moved and supported that we accept the 2017 tax budget. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Knotts?
Yes.
Mr. Blackstock?
Yes.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Patsalis?
Yes.
Mr. Boda?
Yes,
Cram, yes. Mr. Simons?
Yes, motion carries. Moving on, we have the 2017 St. Clair County Local Road Assistance Program Agreement. As you know, we applied for these roads to be done on the north end of the township. We got accepted. I've got the letter in there where we were accepted for the amount of $50,000, and I think our share is 52,115.
Right.
So I would just like the authorization to okay that and sign that and move it on.
I'll make a motion that we have you do that.
Support.
It's been moved and supported that we accept the county road assistance program agreement. Is there any further discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Mr. Blackstock?
Yes.
Mr. Knotts?
Yes.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Patsalis?
Yes.
Mr. Boda?
yes,
Cram, yes. Mr. Simons?
Yes. Motion carries. We accept the local road assistance, which is a very good program for the township. It's, where can you get $2 worth of work for $1?
I always like to spend get us using other people's money in the township. That's the way to
And
do
we
it.
thank the county for doing that, too.
Yes, sir.
Okay, moving on to the add delinquent water and sewer accounts and charges to the 2016 winter tax roll. You have the list before you in your packet.
We do this every year, so I'll make that motion that we add the delinquent water sewer accounts to the winter tax roll.
I'll support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported that we add the delinquent water bills and sewer accounts and charges to the 2016 winter tax rolls. Is there any further discussion?
Do you know why we have so many? This
This is
I mean,
about.
people are, this must be deliberate, because
It
it's
is.
just too
Some of
many.
it is. Some
Some
people
of it is.
prefer to do that.
Almost the same amount.
Some of it's all year.
Okay.
Yeah, they like to pay it right on their tax. We add it to the taxes.
But
They
when
pay
we,
it.
when we do this, though, to forward it to the tax bill, are they required to pay the charge of a late payment, of the late bill?
I believe it is,
Yes,
yes.
it is.
They're not,
That includes the late fees and
Includes the
everything that
late
they've got,
fees.
yep.
It's 10% on
Okay.
all of it.
thank you. I just
Okay.
couldn't figure it out.
Any further discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Mr. Boda?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Knox?
Yes.
Mr. Blackstock?
Yes.
Cram, yes. Mr. Simons?
Yes, motion carries. We add them to the tax roll. Moving on to new business 5 is the RBC update and discussion from our sewer plant supervisor and our township engineer. So bring us up to speed.
No, you have to go up to the microphone so everybody can hear you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You get to be a TV star.
you're on TV.
Oh, I need that. Well, I'd like to inform the board that all 5 biodiscs are in fact up and running. And we are at full treatment ability right now. We still have some punch list items that we're going through with Wade Trim and the contractor. It's normal stuff that gets missed or isn't correct. We do have an issue, we have a couple issues that I'm not happy with. One being the covers that cover the biodisc. I don't feel they fit correctly, and we're working with Wade Trim and the contractor to get those straightened out. And that's kind of where we're at right now. They still have landscaping to do. All our old biodiscs are gone, except for some parts from the one that was broken a couple years ago. So those still have to be removed. Other than that, all the old stuff's gone.
Do we have a contingency fee that we're withholding until its covers are fixed to the supervisor's satisfaction?
We still
Correct.
have
yes.
payments that we'll be holding. I'm
And we're not
assuming.
gonna pay it off until we're satisfied.
Okay, I'm just making sure that do we have a hold
We have
on
a
the
large,
contract?
a large sum
Okay.
that's owed.
Yeah, there's a large sum yet owed to the contractor and
Okay, thank
until
you.
we get the issues straightened out.
Okay.
When you say the covers don't fit, Chuck, what are they too big, too thick, too?
My feeling is they're too
Too small.
small. They're like 2 feet shorter on each end of the biodisc. One end is understandable because the new drive, the mechanical drive is on one end. So the cover can't be expanded to cover that. And they're made to be outside anyway. But the bearings to on the shaft are actually exposed to the weather on the drive end and what we call the idle end, which would
That's
be the
really no
opposite.
good. They should be covered, the bearings anyhow.
Well, that's my feeling, but the manufacturer says they're sealed, if I'm correct, right, for weather. But it's my feeling and my experience that if they're out there long enough, they're gonna start
The
taking on
element's gonna
water.
get to it.
And they should be covered. Actually, one of the disc framework is hitting.
Yeah, there's
On
one
the
I saw
cover.
actually rubbing it, yeah.
Yeah,
Not
Mr.
too
Knox
sure.
was there and
Yeah, I was there.
Mr. Simons and witnessed it. And Dave, we pointed it out to Dave too. So that's an issue we're trying to get straightened out with Evoqua, who was a supplier. Hopefully we can get something ironed out.
You should be able
Pretty
to just
soon.
cut it out, put a little doghouse on it. Hopefully good.
Well, we're actually, they're looking to, the manufacturer of the covers is willing to supply the extensions to these. Am I getting into too much detail that I don't know
I
about?
guess the only thing that I would add to that is we've spoken to the contractor and the supplier for the materials, and they've acknowledged the fact that the covers are short. that they weren't built according to the specifications.
Whose specifications?
The specifications that we had,
We being Wade Trim?
yes, the approved shop drawings, right. So the contractor submitted shop drawings to us, we approved them, and the final product that we got on site was deficient, was smaller than it was supposed to be. And the contractor and the supplier have already acknowledged that fact that they didn't build them correctly. And so they've proposed to us some proposed solutions to that. And one solution to that would be to extend those covers on the idle end, as Mr. Bailey indicated, about 2 feet, and that would help to cover that, the bearing on that end. And we were talking to them, in addition to that, about what we can do to cover or seal up those bearings on the drive end as well. So we're still in discussions with the contractor on that. But
So-
they've acknowledged that they're deficient and that they're going to correct it.
So it's the covers that are deficient.
The covers are deficient.
What are
The
they gonna-
RBCs are working good.
What are they gonna do with the covers? Are they gonna try shimming them covers up to give you clearance?
They're gonna replace, they're gonna take the end sections off, extend them out, and put new end sections
Okay.
on them.
Okay.
On the idle end, on the drive end, we're still talking to them because
Little
we
doghouse?
can't, we can't extend the whole cover out because there's the drive bearing, the drive unit itself, and then there's an air valve, and the three of those align such that you can't get a cover through there. So we're looking at some alternate means to cover those. If we're looking at adding a doghouse to it or another kind of a cover for those bearings.
So you think it's something that we can get remedied without,
Yeah, the contractor's working well with us, and I don't see that there's gonna be an issue with it.
okay?
Do they have a
But you
timeline?
don't want that rubbing all the time because you're gonna wear something else out.
Well, the extension on the cover, if that's what they intend to do, that will eliminate that rubbing.
Okay.
Because it'll actually bring the cover out another 2 feet.
Okay.
on the-
Dave, how come the covers weren't extended out to the position where the old covers were? It's the same RBC in the same tank. Why did, and you can see where the old covers were, and they look like it's about 18 inches more you would need to. Why, when it was engineered, why didn't we go out to there?
There's a couple reasons for that. One is, actually, the actual RBCs themselves are slightly different dimensions. The support structure on the new RBCs is different than the old ones. The new ones have some steel reinforcing on the end of it outside the actual treatment media, which brings us closer to the walls of the original structure than the old ones were. So they're physically a different dimension than the old ones were. Secondly, as far as extending the covers out to cover the bearings, when we were in the design process and talked about it, the previous superintendent had requested that we don't cover those bearings, that we leave them exposed for maintenance purposes. So we did that at his request. But now, we're working with Mr. Bailey and trying to get the
Were the old
situation
bearings
corrected.
on the old ones, were they inside the doghouse?
They were inside.
Yes, the old ones were inside.
Yeah, the weather's gonna get to them new bearings regardless.
I believe so.
But is that gonna hinder our working on these bearings if we have them inside the covers?
No, because the end cap of the covers are made to come off. So to remove the bearing, or change the bearing, or the new load cells, which actually records the weight of those, we have to take the end cover off, and then we can do the jacking of the shaft to change the bearings or the load cell.
So it's still maintenance, you can still do it then,
Yeah.
huh?
But
Okay. And how else is it, everything else, we've cut down now on our, running our compressor, our blowers and that?
our electric, Corinne's sending me electric bills probably tomorrow, so we can compare to what's going on. But our electric bill has in fact dropped. I believe we saw that in the Water Sewer Authority meeting.
So I think originally when we did all this way back when, what was it, back in 11? I mean, I think we were gonna see a big savings in our electric bill. I wanna say like $15,000 a year.
It's gonna be significant, I believe. It takes a lot to compress air and, send it out.
That subject came up when we were reviewing the budget for the Water and Sewer Authority, of course, which is paid by the water bills. And the budget for next year is about 60%, 50 to 60% of the budget of last year. Lowered
So
it for electricity, just due to the fact that we're not going to be compressing the air.
Right, so we're making savings on that. I mean, we're never gonna recover our total cost, but, yeah, well, that's a good thing.
Okay.
Do you have
Anybody else have any questions
a-
for
Do you have a
him?
timeline for this fix?
Sounds like everything's going.
What's-
I'm sure they'll take care of it.
The timeline, once we order the materials, is about 6 weeks for fabrication, to fabricate the new end sections and pieces and get them delivered. In the meantime, we can continue to still operate the RBCs and we're at full treatment capacity at the plant. So it's not hindering the treatment right now.
Was
So-
there a deadline that job had to be done?
Yes, right now we've exceeded that deadline and we're working with the contractor to address that.
And was there a penalty on the deadline if they didn't meet it?
There is liquidated damages on the project, yes.
And the other thing, is there any timeline to do this restoration? I mean, I kind of want to have this thing wrapped up by the first of the year because, like I told Cindy, with this bookkeeping and payments, we've budgeted for the 16 year, and now we're going to carry over into the 17 year. It's more hassle. So are they, I mean, we've had some nice weather this last week or two. Why aren't they out there restorating that?
We'll need to get with the contractor and talk to him about getting the final cleanup and everything done on the project. So I think right now probably they're waiting a little bit to see what we do with these end covers and to get that resolved. Because when they come out to put the end covers on, there's going to be some disturbance and moving equipment in and whatnot, so.
Yeah, but they're asking us to extend the finish date on the
I
RBCs.
don't see where we got any alternative but to give them it because it's not finished.
Right. Well, we're negotiating that, so I think we got the three of us, and we're working on that with tools and with the manufacturer for the covers. So I think we'll report more back to the board at the next meeting. I think we'll see what we come up with.
Maybe I'll take a ride out there in a couple of days. I can't tomorrow. I got a doctor's appointment.
Yeah, you guys should all go out, and the gals will keep on good luck.
You wanna go, I'll go.
I've been out there, they're real cute, you like them.
Yeah, they're running nice and smooth.
They smell real good too, don't they?
Yeah, I went there at 8 o'clock in the morning. but-
Joey, you gotta get
I
downwind.
didn't actually visit, I
Let's
didn't.
go on a cool day.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for
Thank you,
coming.
gentlemen.
Chuck, you don't have to stay if you don't want. We just need Dave. He's putting on another hat. Okay, so that concludes that. Now we're going to move on to new business item 6, discussion about a sewer line in China and East China Township. I was approached months ago by China Township. They want to extend the sewer line. They're asking our township if we would like to be part of that. Without China spending a lot of money to do a lot of engineering, we did this, 6, 8 years ago?
Yes.
Where
Yep.
we actually had some proposals by Wade Trim, we dug those up, and they're looking at them, and without having Wade Trim, and Wade Trim is working for China Township on this project to extend these sewers down King Road. So I'll let Dave explain kind of what they're looking for here.
Okay. We've got about it's 15 or 17 homes on the west side of King Road, just north of Marine City Highway in China Township that have, the county health department has told us that the majority of those homes, if not all of them, have failing or failed septic systems. So we need to do something in order to provide sanitary sewer for those areas. China Township initially responded back to the county and said, fine, we'll, let the residents work with you to put in new septic systems, engineered fields. And the county health department responded back and said, no, the soils are too bad, the groundwater table's too high. We're not going to allow septic fields in there, you need to do something else. So China Township is looking at what their options are. One of the options would be to contract with Marine City to send flow south to Marine City down to their treatment plant. Another option would be to to work with East China to get a line run that could get the flow up to the wastewater treatment plant here in East China. As Mr. Simon said, that was looked at 2004 or 5 when the township's master plan was put together. We had looked at ways that you could service areas of Chinatown, or East China Township, along Springborn Road and in the southwest corner of the township there, how that could be serviced. And that could be serviced by running sanitary sewer from Recor Road, either down the bike path, the power line easement there, down to Springborn until you hit to, and then over to King Road to service East China, and then pick up those areas in China Township. Or you could take and you could run directly out Recor Road to King Road, and then head south on King Road. Those are two different alignments. Both of those alignments at the time, 9 years ago, were estimated at between $5 and $6 million. So they're substantial projects. And out of that, probably about half of that cost would be East China, and half of the cost would be China. If we go out Recor Road and down King Road, that's a little more China Township because it services them more. If we were to go down the power line easement route, that would be a little more East China. I think what we're looking for, the discussion that we had recently, met with the supervisor, with Mr. Simons, and then also Ms. Schweihofer from China Township, and we just had a discussion to see if there was any interest at all on the East China Township Board of, doing an investment in extending sanitary sewers down, being part of that $5 to $6 million project. As Mr. Simon said, we haven't gone through and updated the cost estimates yet from the previous ones. Those are old. But we didn't see that it was worthwhile to do that, go through that effort until we kind of gauged if there's any interest in the two township boards of doing this. Now, I know that China Township hasn't really talked about whether they're interested in extending that either, so they would have to come to that same conclusion or have that same discussion. But the discussion that we had with Mr. Simons, about a week ago, when we met, something like that, was just to bring it to this board and talk about whether there's any interest or not in participating in a sewer project that would ultimately open up the kind of south and southwest corners of East China Township to sewer service.
One thing too, Dave, maybe we should tell the board, and I don't know if everybody's aware of it, but we're limited on Springborn Road. The Springborn Road lift station
Right at the end of
is
Madison.
just about maxed out, so we can't do any more developing on Springborn Road and all that area to the south of Springborn and to the north of Springborn.
That's correct. The Springborn Road goes down to the Bell River Pump Station, which pumps across to the east side, and then it flows through gravity over to River Road, north along River Road, up to Recor. It's the Recor pump station is pumped over to the treatment plant, and all of the sewers along that route are pretty much at capacity. Even if we improve the pump station on Springborn Road, all the downstream sewers from there don't have capacity in them either.
The pipes are too small,
The
right?
pipes are too
That
small.
pump station on Springborn and Bell River is probably at maximum now, isn't it?
That's what you're
Yes,
saying.
it is.
Yeah, that's
They all-
what
Yes,
it
it
is.
I think the only way to do it would be run a new line.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know how else you're gonna do it. You're gonna have to run a new line.
We did this before.
Right.
Remember Frank wanted to put that development out there.
Exactly.
And we told him, fine, he could do it, but he had to put a new line in out to the sewer plant. He balked at that, so we can't issue any permits out there, so there is some possibility. I think we have 5 houses now on Springborn
Frank just
that are on
don't have a line
septics
here,
because
and they
we
need to-
can't reach them with a sewer.
I was gonna say, we don't have sewer all the way out Springborn.
Only half,
Didn't he?
Only half of it.
only half of it. So
Oh,
there
yeah,
is
for
some
subdivisions.
some advantage. All I'm saying is there's some advantage and possibility of some East China residents benefiting from this sort of a thing.
What
To
if they-
some degree, I ain't saying how much.
Yeah, what if they complete a sewer line on Springborn Road, take it to King and run the line north and run the line south on the Marine City limit? Run north line up to Recor.
That's what you'd have to do. You'd have to
Well,
run.
you're talking doubling this project
Yeah, I was
now.
talking big dollars, yeah, I
Talking
know.
a long way.
Yep. Yeah, if China Township ends up building the sewer along Record west to King and then south on King, you could pick it up at King and Springborn and bring it in and pick up that area,
Down to the city limits of Marine City.
right?
Would you do a special assessment on this then, Brian?
There's lots of different ways to pay for it. One
thought grants.
one way that's typically done, I mean, the, kind of the normal way of extending sanitary sewers that are not being driven by development would be to do it as a special assessment to those that are gonna be receiving potential service from that pipe, or that, who would drain to that pipe. You know, that would be a large area of East China, and then obviously a large area of China Township as well.
Now,
That
there's-
would be hard on the property owners there. That would be a big bill to pay.
Yeah, and we haven't even sat down and figured out what the magnitude of that would be. You know, it's more than a few $1,000s per house.
There's a
It's
sewer line on
probably in the
Bell,
tens.
on Bell River north of Springborn, one that runs for a short distance.
Correct.
Yeah,
And
just,
there's no sewer line, and there's a sewer line that comes from Meisner south, as you say, to your house.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't
So
come
is-
to Meisner.
Don't go to Meisner.
It doesn't come south to my place.
Stops at Angelo.
It stops right at the corner there, and there's no sewer from there to Meisner. There's no sewer from
What
there to
about
Meisner.
between north of Springborn Road up to your place?
Up to Angela's.
Yes,
Yes, there is one
right.
there.
There's
From
a sewer
Springborn all the way to there,
Then when
to
Mary
to
Gilman.
your house.
to house, right.
Okay.
And your sewage goes down to the Springborn pump
Correct.
station.
Yes, it's
yeah,
done.
it flows south.
And then
You
it
would
goes
think
back
it flowed
north.
towards the plant, but it doesn't. It goes the other way, and then goes out to the river.
Larry, do we have water down there too?
Yeah.
Where's the extent of our water? Does it go to the
Right.
southwest?
They don't, I think the water goes all the way to the corner, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, you've got water all the way along Springborn, and you've got water south on River Road.
There's water out that way. The water-
Yeah, you've got
there's no
water.
out on King, though. King, it stops at King, doesn't go,
What size
doesn't go
line is on
south.
River
It does not go
Road?
south on King, no.
South of Springborn, it doesn't go
Yeah.
south.
Water, sewer, what are you talking?
Sewer.
On what river?
It does go out.
I think it's an 8-inch line up Bell River.
On
isn't it?
Meisner, going down
Bell
Meisner
River.
to the school.
I would believe it's probably an 8-inch.
It's either an 8 or a 12, I'd have to look.
It's not big enough to tap into that,
Sure,
to run
water.
south on King Road then.
Oh, for the water?
No, for the sewage.
For the sewer? No, no, not off of Meisner, no.
How
There's
big
not
a
enough
line
capacity
would we
there.
be putting down King Road?
The initial study that I saw from 2005 started off as a 10-inch line as a local sewer, because that's the minimum size from DEQ. And then as we would head north up King Road, it would increase up to, I believe it got to be an 18-inch at Recor going into the plant. It services a large area.
Yeah. And that- I mean,
Is it more
I think we're
expensive to-
speculating here, it's all futures.
Is it more expensive to run a line
Is there
along the
water
highway,
on
i.e.
King
King
Road?
Road, than it would be to punch it down, let's say either the transmission line or the trail?
Is there water on
Which-
King Road
which-
down by those houses? Or they have
As I
those?
recall, that I saw some old cost estimates for both those projects, and they were
Comes out of Marine City.
similar in
Up the
cost. I
west side
think
of
the,
King Road there, Marine City Highway?
going down the power line easement
So
might have
getting Marine City
been
water.
500,000 less, but they were both, I think one was 6 million, one was 5.5, or so,
Okay.
on that order of magnitude.
Okay, thank you.
We can have a good discussion on it and everything, but it's all gonna come down to the dollar figures and how we're gonna do it. I mean, if this power plant goes into China, they're gonna have 2 power plants, they can pay for it themselves. I mean, they can do what they need to do. So, I mean, there's a lot of speculation that could be done on it, that we could do on it, but until we have, I think, a lot more background on it, it's,
No.
I mean, we're talking a lot of money. We're talking a big project here.
Where they want it to go, the property owners are big lots, big parcels.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it would be beneficial to East China to go down the bike trail, because we could pick up all that area there. But do we want to be developers? And, you know, we haven't had a real call for that.
No,
I mean, if we could get grants, I would say, I would probably look at it, but even grants, you don't get 100%, you only get like 50, don't you?
There are a couple of programs out there that we could probably qualify for. The fact that the sewer project would be helping to solve an existing failed septic system issue in China Township would help as far as obtaining grants goes. Because as soon as you have a failure or an environmental issue that you're addressing, the grant funding opportunities go up. Probably the best bet would be through the USDA Rural Development Program. Typically, they will give grants up to 50 sometimes up to 75% of a project, depending on how big the project is. And then and then a lot of times they will offer low-interest loans to
Sounds
cover
to
the
me like
balance.
rural development plus the failing systems would support punching the line down King Road, keeping it mostly in China Township.
However we end up providing service for those 17 homes along there, whichever route we decide is the best for the two communities is the route that we could go.
All right.
Either one would suffice, as long as we take
Which
care of the
route
problems
is
of
the
those homes.
best to have your, that give you the best chance of getting one of these loans/grants?
The route that we select really doesn't, I don't think impacts it all that much. I think they would both be viewed about equally as favorable. Obviously, one's a little bit less than the other one. I think it would depend more on how supportive the property owners were that were affected, because going down Record to King includes a different set of property owners than going down the bike path to King would include. So,
Yes, indeedy.
different groups of people we'd be dealing with. Some of them would be the same, but some would be different.
Might be easier to get
There's
grant
no-
for the
as,
ones
uh,
down King Road
How
because
old is
they're
that
already in
line?
violation.
Runs down.
Their
The
septics
pump
are
station
gone.
we're talking
Well,
about.
either project would service the people on King Road at the end. So they would, whichever way we go, we pick up those homes.
Dave, is the grants that might be possible again, might not, but if they're possible again, is that a state grant or a federal grant? Or is there a grant from each one?
Those are federal grants.
Pardon?
Those are federal grants, USDA rural development.
Federal grant.
Well, I think Herb just mentioned that sooner or later, we're gonna have to do something with the Springborn lift station. I mean, it's old.
My question is we've discussed this going into next year, that we need to start addressing some of our existing infrastructure and the potential of replacing it. So if you say that pump station is 30 years old and past its prime, and I'm assuming the sewer line itself is probably in similar condition, correct? Could it be a possibility that if we have to replace that eventually anyways, we replace it with a larger pipe and a new lift station? I mean, is that,
Well, we
Would
could
that
send the
save us
sewage
any
the other
money?
way.
It would be possible to replace the existing pump station and the existing pipe. It would probably be a lot more expensive to do it that way, because you have to replace the pipe all the way from basically Springborn and Bell River, going east across the river, all the way to River Drive, going River Drive up to Recore Road to the pump station.
You understand which direction.
See, the-
And so
I understand,
you're,
but if well, my point is that if you're looking at spending $5 to $6 million to run a brand new line from the station, from our
Yeah.
sewer plant to the opposite end of our township, and then 5 years later, when that pump station goes down and we have the same issue, we're gonna be paying again to replace that old infrastructure, correct?
you would be paying to replace the pump station. Typically, sanitary sewer lines, the pipes themselves are gonna have a much longer lifespan than would a pump station. A pump station's mechanical in nature and tends to wear out and fail, whereas the pipes are only subjected really to, wear and tear and earth pressure and whatnot. The other thing is that as rehabilitating existing pipes in the ground is much less expensive than replacing them, than digging them up and replacing them. So to take the existing 10, 12, 15, 18-inch sanitary sewers that are there now and to install a liner in areas where they're bad would be less expensive than actually replacing them.
The other thing.
So in the long run, you probably it would be less expensive, even with replacing the pump station at Springborn Road. It would be less expensive to build the new line for the new service.
If we were to even consider this is an opportunity to get another feed into the sewer plant. Right now, everything goes to the base of Recore Road at the river and is pumped back up.
Yep.
That's the way it's set up.
'Cause it's gravity
To have
fed.
another feed into this sewer plant from the west side would be, if we were going to do so, we should take advantage of that opportunity to get another way into the sewer plant than having to dump everything down to the bottom of the hill right out here and pumping it back up. Because everything goes one way or other, it all winds up down there.
Well, that's where the original plant was, that's why.
Right.
I know, but now we're talking about servicing an area of the township and another township that's much farther to the west.
To do that.
We need a line on the west side. If we're gonna do it, we should try to improve the flow to this one. We should be talking about looking at, anyway, I'll shut up, but that's, you need to look at that.
I say we need more information. I mean, I don't know if China is serious about spending that kind of money. It sounds like this board and the circumstances we have there on Springborn Road, sooner or later, we're gonna have to do something. If we're gonna develop anything in there. I know we pulled sewer permits and water permits from that one subdivision that was gonna build right there on the township limits there.
Yep, the
You know,
church group?
And we distributed those through other places, so they're gone.
Right.
And I think there was 35 of them there at one time. And so really, if anybody wants to make a development on Springborn Road, we really can. The only thing they can do is they can take that property and divide it. We had a person come in here, well, maybe it was 6 months ago, inquiring about some of that property south of Springborn Road
Building lagoon.
to build on it, and we told them, Mark, we being Mark and myself, we got the plots out and looked at it. He would almost have to have bigger lots and have septic tanks in there in order to develop that, which would really cut down it'd be a lot fewer homes in there than what you could actually put in there.
Right, and you're going to have very similar soil conditions and water table elevation to the properties in China Township, although the lots will be bigger. I'm not sure that the health department would issue septic permits in there or not.
Right.
They may not, because the health department is of the opinion that, given the ground conditions there and the water elevations, that septic systems are just not viable at all.
So I guess to wrap this up, we might be interested in doing something.
Okay.
Am I speaking for the board, or?
Sounds going to be
Hey,
done.
we want to know more information on how much money and how do we benefit
It's
out
gotta be
of it?
feasible.
What's that?
I say it's gotta be feasible for the township too.
And are grants available, but is that going to be up to China to pursue that and see what's out there,
Well, I think what I'll do is I'll report back to China Township that the concept wasn't dead on arrival anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna,
And
you
that
didn't get
there's-
a big no. Okay.
There's
Other than
some
that,
interest from East China, and that if China Township determines that they want to pursue that issue further, that this board would like some additional information.
Right.
Does that sound reasonable?
But, they got to look at our circumstances with, like what Angelo said, we're losing a power plant, we're losing a lot of our tax base.
That's right,
So-
they're gonna gain it.
We just can't go jumping into a $3 million bond issue,
Yeah.
which I imagine would be our portion would have to be a bond,
Probably, yes. Yeah.
so. Anybody else have any other questions? Do you understand what we're talking about?
No.
Okay,
Hey,
thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
You'll report
Thanks, Dave.
back to Linda?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay, moving on, we have two resolutions.
Right.
We have Resolution 9, which is adopt our 2017 budget.
No, it's not. It's for the school board.
What's that?
It's for the school board, non-homestead tax.
Okay, I'm reading my old one.
Here.
I got this one.
I'll read it if somebody,
All right.
you want to read it? or
This
what?
Resolution 9 is the East China School
School
District
District
non-homestead
non-homestead
millage
millage
request. Somebody like to read that?
Yeah, I'll read it for you.
Ralph said he'll read it.
Following resolution is offered by me is, well, it says on here, the following resolution is offered by member Simons, supported by member
I'm
Gonzalez.
thinking that this still isn't correct.
Yeah, this
Sorry.
is not the right thing.
Because
Whereas Tuesday, November the 8th, everything else is right.
we need to take the one that says Resolution 8, and we need
Just
to
make
make
it
it say
9.
9, and then from the old
Correct,
packet.
that's what I did on my packet.
All right, let me dig that one.
Here,
back.
do you want mine?
No, I got them here. Resolution 8 and change it to 9,
Correct,
and everything else stays the same?
yes.
All right, following resolution is offered by me. So whereas under the provisions of the Uniform Budgeting and Accounting Act of 621 of 1978 for local units of government of Michigan, all budgets for general fund, township improvement fund, capital projects fund, special revenue fund, and debt service funds must be adopted by the legislative body, which is the East China Charter Township Board of Trustees, and whereas the East China Charter Township Supervisor hereby submits and recommends the adoption of the 2017 budgets for the General Fund, Township Improvement Fund, Capital Projects Fund, Special Revenue Fund, and the Debt Service Funds in accordance with the Uniform Budgeting and Accounting Act, Public Act 621 of 1978, and whereas a public hearing on the proposed 2017 budgets was held in East China Township Hall on November the 7th, 2016, now therefore be it resolved that the above recommended 2017 General Fund budget, Township Improvement Fund budget, and the Capital Projects Fund budget with the Special Revenue Fund budget and the Debt Services Fund budget be adopted in compliance with the State of Michigan Public Act 621 of 1978, which amends Public Act 2 of 1968 entitled the Uniform Budgeting and Accounting Act. All resolutions and part of resolutions insofar as they conflict with provisions of this resolution be and the same hereby are rescinded.
I'll support that.
Resolution.
All right, it's been moved and supported that we accept the resolution number 9, adopt the 2017 budget. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please. I believe we have to vote on it.
Yeah, Mr. Blackstock.
Yes.
Mr. Knox.
Yes.
Mr. Horn. Mr. Patsoulis.
Yes.
Mr. Boda.
Yes.
Cram, yes. Mr. Simons.
Yes. All right, next we have Resolution 10, 2016, Charter Township of East China, St. Clair County. You want to read that one, Mr. Voda?
Yeah. Resolution 10-2016, Charter Township of East China, County of St. Clair, Michigan. Minutes of a regular meeting of the Township Board of East China Township, County of St. Clair, Michigan, held in the Township Hall on 7th day of November 2016. The following resolution was offered by Member Boda. Be it resolved that the Township Board of East China Township directs the Township Treasurer to waive the 1% property tax administration fee for the 2016 winter ad valorem taxes paid after February 14th, 2017 and before March 1st, 2017, as authorized under Act Number 88, Public Acts of 1983, and Section 44 of Act Number 206 of Public Acts of 1893, as amended by Act Number 503 of Public Acts of 1982. And be it further resolved that the Township Treasurer will collect a late penalty tax equal to 3% of such tax on all 2016 winter ad valorem taxes paid after February 14, 2017 and before March 1st, 2017. All resolutions and parts of resolutions insofar as they conflict with the provisions of this resolution be and the same hereby are rescinded.
And I'll support that.
Mr. Horn will support it. Thank you, Don.
Yep.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on. We have we're going to go into a closed session. I think I would like to do the announcements first because I don't know if we'll be coming back. We're going to come back into open session, but no business will be accounted for. So I think I'd like to go ahead and read the announcements that we have. First announcement is everybody get out and vote tomorrow, November the 8th. The polls are open from 7 to 8. The township offices will be closed for business on November the 8th, 2016, Election Day. The township offices will be closed November the 11th for Veterans Day. Our curbside chipping is November the 16th. Couple other issues that I have. One being,
So you're going to member comments, or this is announcements?
all right, we can go to member comments next, and I'll do mine at the end. Member comments, Mr. Horn,
I have none.
Mr. Pasalis.
I would just like to urge, like you said, Larry, everybody get out and vote tomorrow. This is, I guess we can say it's going to be an interesting election. And seeing that it is election tomorrow, it may be the last time this board convenes as it is. Dee, I know you're going to be leaving. I want to thank you for your time on this board and good luck on your endeavors. I'd like to wish everybody else on this board good luck tomorrow. The board, it was a pleasure serving with everybody on this board. I hope we can come back as we are. I think we've done a lot in the last 4 years. Our township is moving in the right direction. We're doing some good things. And not only with this board, I just hope the board that does come on, if it does change, that we continue to move in the same direction and move in the positive direction. But again, it was a pleasure serving with everybody here, and good luck, and I hope to see everybody at the next meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Boda.
I would also like to wish Dee the best in the future. I know she's leaving the board, and we'll have a new clerk after the 8th, or November, I guess it is. And I hope, like Angelo said, I hope all of us come back as for a board, because there's a lot of things we have going right now. And I'd like to see it all keep going. So, other than that, I have nothing else. Thank you.
Okay.
No, it's me. Well, I do want to say thank you all. It's been interesting. I've learned a lot. I've moved into the township in 1999. I started working or doing something in East China, literally January of 2000. I was on my first board committee. All through the years, everybody's been great. It's been interesting and a learning experience, and I want to say congratulations to the new clerk who's coming in. Hopefully he has lots of time that he can commit, which is my issue, that I don't have as much time as I want to have for this, so I want you guys to get somebody who's got the time to do everything that needs to get done. But I do want to thank you all. It's been interesting and fun.
Thank you. Herb.
Just get out and vote. It is very important. And again, thanks, Dee, for all of your service over the years. All the boards that we've been on together before this board. It's a nice place to live, so I want to see it continue on. So.
Mr. Knott?
Guys, thank Dee for her service, helping make East China a good place to live. And I remind everybody again, like I said, get out and vote. Remember, probably the election that's getting the most attention is not the one that's probably the most important. The one that affects your life is the things that happen at the local, at the township, and at the county level. So get out and vote.
Thank you. I'd like to add a thank you to Dee, too, for the 4 years that she served here on this board together with us. I think, I know her time's been limited. She had circumstances that, after you were elected, then you got a different job, and it's hard to be here. But thank you for all you've done. And does this also mean that you're going to be back on the beautification then, or?
Not right now, no. No.
All right. Well, thank you for your service. And also, I'd like to reiterate about the voting. This whole board is up for reelection. The trustees, the treasurer, the clerk, myself. Get out and vote and exercise your options. One other thing I had, the board had asked me, pass these down. The board had asked me several months ago, and it came up again a month ago, about the LED lights. This just came in at 3:30 today. I'm just going to let you look at it, and then we'll discuss it. I'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting, but we have 3 months, and this is a quote from DTE about switching all of our streetlights over to LEDs. So it looks really appealing to me. I mean, I know I just handed it to you, but take it home, study it, look at it, and at the next meeting, I'll have this on the agenda, and we'll talk about that. One other thing is the historical committee, they joined out of their budget, they joined the St. Clair Chamber of Commerce, which we are that makes the whole township a member, and we're also a member of the Marine City Chamber of Commerce. And I think they both do good things, and I just wanted to let the board know that they did that.
3 years paid for.
With that, I guess we'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we go into closed session. We're going to go in for union negotiations. It was supposed to be an employee request too, but I don't see the employee here, so right now we're going to go into the closed session for the union negotiations. We're going to talk to the board about the union. So when we come back into open session, we will not be conducting any business. So with that, like I say, I make the motion to go into closed session.
I'll support.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to go into closed session. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We're going to go into closed session.